Saturday right here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, YouTube, and Twitch for the kids. I am Joe Fisher. Across from the foam marble table is absolutely no one, because Rashad is still sick to his stomach, fam, because of his UNLV Rebels losing on Friday and no longer being undefeated. But, of course, I got Jordan Schultz across the glass from me. How we doing this morning, bud?
What's up, man? I'm all right. I'll try to puke and come in anyways. Like, that's where I'm at this morning. So I'm feeling good. Like, I'm ready to take on the world.
You know, I feel like it's inexcusable for Rashad to miss this show, especially after a banger of a Saturday that we just had. That was quite possibly one of the best Saturdays I have had in quite some time.
It was pretty fun, man. Did you just do all football all day? Because I started off with, like, pumpkin patch and then easing into football and baseball the rest of the day.
Oh, no. It was one of the best Saturdays in a while because of having absolutely nothing needed to be done. Like, it was wake up at... it was one of those where I woke up but still laid in bed and kind of tossed and turned and had the TV on in the background, but actually did not get out of my bed till probably around 10:30.
That's glorious.
Oh, yeah. It was. I was like, I'm going to extend this as long as effing possible right now. Made some brekkie, which I'm not a breakfast person usually, like weekday, work day. I'm not going in... I don't grab like a Nature Valley bar. Or
Really?
I don't.
You strike me as quite the opposite. I feel like you would be like a totally breakfast is the most important meal of the day kind of guy.
No, I usually skip breakfast.
Okay.
But I do love making a Saturday morning breakfast.
We go with an omelet. We go with some eggs Benny. What we go with, bro?
Well, when I have my 11-year-old son, my options are very limited as far as what I can make.
So Eggo waffles and cereal.
He would probably like that, but actually he does like it when I make a real breakfast. But yeah, Eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce, he's out on the hollandaise. I could guarantee that.
It probably.
An omelet, he would probably eat that, but also he would just question why couldn't you just make scrambled eggs? You know, like that would probably be his logic. So that's what I did yesterday was scrambled eggs. Ooh. I did scrambled for him over easy for me, sausage, bacon, and just some toast.
Yeah.
And so that was the breakfast yesterday. And then watched some of the morning games, went to the driving range for a bit to try and figure out what is going on with my swing, which hopefully we made some progress. But until I got to my girlfriend's house, probably around 5-ish till about 11:30 at night. That 5.5 or 6.5 hour stretch was one of the best 6.5 hour Saturday stretches I've had in a long time. I mean, it was that was one of everything came together perfectly. She made beef stew.
Ooh.
There was I had fresh hop beers. I went to John's Marketplace and got my selection of 4 fresh hop beers for the season.
4 fresh hop beers, my God, you beer snob.
Well, I did not drink all 4. I only had 2.
Oh God, we got signed out of Hulu in our studio in here. Great.
Oh boy,
I'm trying to watch the morning NFL game in London and I can't.
In jolly old London.
Sorry,
yeah, speaking of which, Minnesota's up 17-10 right now at the beginning of the 4th.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense has picked Aaron Rodgers off twice.
So it was the beef stew, it was the fresh hop beer, and then it was just the absolute chaos we got throughout the day on Saturday. But it was nice being able to do absolutely nothing.
Hell yeah, dude.
I think that is the point that I'm at in life as an old, decrepit 32-year-old man. That
welcome.
Being able to do nothing on a Saturday is just glorious, because that has not been the case for like the last 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's not going to be the case for another 3 or 4 weeks.
Enjoy the privilege, my friend. And I will say privilege because, like, as you just said, you will not have that availability of time for the next 4 weeks. I'm assuming because A, of different football requirements, and then B, like your kids doing sports, and then C, you've like just got like work stuff leaking in like all adults do. So
well, this isn't much of a complaint, but my Saturday next week is occupied because I will be down at the Oregon-Ohio State game. So that's, that's not really like a reason to be like, oh, God, I'm busy this upcoming Saturday.
That kind of sounds like just as good of a Saturday, just in a different way, apples to oranges, as this Saturday, my friend. I think, if you asked me, hey, Schultze, would you rather be home watching football or at an Ohio State Oregon game and be like, can I pick both like 2 weeks in a row like you're doing? That'd be awesome.
I will say the nice thing about yesterday was like the fact that Oregon had already played the night before, and I could just consume college football across the board as far as different teams and what was going on. Usually I'm pretty just like when the Oregon's playing, I'm just locked in on their game. So them not playing at any point yesterday and just being able to consume all the games, switch back from different games, have the quad screen going on YouTube TV. I mean, that's what made it just ideal. Very bullish on the fall season right now. I've never been a fall autumn guy. I am 100%. If I were to power rank the season, summer number one by far. But I think fall just climbed up the ranks a little bit.
I mean,
I think it might have made a jump.
If you get like a nice mild fall like we've got this year, it's like 70 degrees, so you can go out on the link still. But then we're kind of dealing with like that 30-degree difference in temperature, so it's like 40-something at night. So you get that fall feel. You started smelling like campfires a couple weeks ago. People were doing like, yeah, no, I'm glad that you're here with me now. No, fall is the best. Pumpkin spice. And then
chicks love the fall.
Exactly, and they also love the transition into Christmas, which means Hallmark movies very soon.
And also, being that this is the first football Sunday of October, October is the best month on the sports calendar by far. And yesterday was just like a prime example of that. I mean, we had all the college football, but then we also had MLB playoffs going on yesterday as well.
Yep.
It was just fantastic. I just had the time of my life doing absolutely nothing. It was great.
If you're disgusting today, Joe, I think is one of those beautiful, like it's like a sports equinox day, or it might be close where you can catch every single sport on the television. Like I believe we got NHL preseason happening. We got NBA preseason happening. Maybe not a college football game, but you got an NFL football game. I mean, I think the same thing happened yesterday, too. Like, you basically, besides, I think a college and NFL game has to happen on the same day for that to be the truth. But we are like, it's like a 90% sports equinox. We've got almost every form of sport to watch. I'm pretty sure Premier League, I just need to check in with Patrick. Premier League's probably going today as well. We can watch it all.
We have also officially hit the mark, I believe it was on the October 2nd, where we are now entering the 55 straight days of football.
Oh,
so we got Maction on Tuesdays. We've got like Sun Belt Conference games happening on Wednesdays.
I love that.
To fulfill the entire week during the football season. So yeah, we'll get obviously NFL Sundays, Monday Night Football, Maction on Tuesdays, Sun Belt or whatever the hell else is going on Wednesdays.
That's actually really smart. By those like lesser conferences in college football to try to take a day of the week nobody's doing anything during football season. Like, why didn't they do this 20 years ago? This is such a smart way to go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how long they've been playing the MAC games on Tuesdays. So, like, for example, this week, it's actually Conference USA takes up Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you get a vaunted matchup on Tuesday between Florida International and everybody's favorite school, Liberty. Wednesday, New Mexico State and Jacksonville State. So, yeah, I mean, they're taking over the midweek, which I am perfectly okay with that. It's like, yeah, have your exposure, get all the eyeballs you can on your teams and your schools.
One of these schools gets an at-large bid to the 12-team CFP. Am I wrong?
The group of 5 schools, yeah. So, I mean, at this point, Boise State is looking like that team right now. But unfortunately, Liberty is still undefeated. So, let's try and make sure that Liberty does not make the playoffs, please, because for obvious reasons.
I have bad memories of an Oregon Liberty. Was it Fiesta Bowl?
Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. God.
I mean, it went great.
No, it went amazing, but that was just the worst possible matchup. It's like, yay, Oregon fought so hard this season, missed the CFP because they missed 2 field goals against Washington, and oh, God.
Yeah. So, someone on the Vancouver Ford text line. Next time you make scrambled eggs, you should put bacon chunks inside the eggs while you cook. You'll thank me later. That does sound like a good idea.
That I agree, but then there's also like going too far with mixing food directly with eggs. I like to top my eggs with it. If you mix the food directly with the eggs, then you don't really taste egg anymore. You just taste that food. So I don't know that I like it. I'm not trying to knock the Vancouver Ford text line suggestion. I think it can be good with chunks of bacon directly in it, kind of like you do chunks of bacon in like a big old chunk of burger meat or something. But you got to do it right. You can't overdo it because I've like and I'm out on onions. Please do not put onions in your eggs.
Oh no,
That's
God no.
pretty regular thing though. Go ask Joe Senior.
Quite
I
honest,
bet you he does.
I think you mean Joe Jr.
Sorry, Joe Jr.
But I could ask
you
my
are Joe the Third.
Yeah,
My
but I could
apologies.
ask my grandpa as well.
Well,
I'm sure
actually,
he would agree.
Your grandpa would probably also be in the
Eh?
onions in eggs realm.
Onions and eggs. Eh?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, onions should probably stay out of most meals anyways, so
I had red onions, raw red onions, put in my iceberg salad or my wedge salad yesterday. It was like,
All right.
wait, what? Like, why?
I'll say this. Cooked onions, for the most part, I can deal with those.
Yeah.
Raw onions are right out. The only thing I'll have raw onions with is street tacos.
Okay.
That is the exception. I am making the exception for onions on street tacos, and that is it. Other than that, raw onions, go right to hell with those.
Only in like the pico de gallo. I'm not just doing straight raw onions or like onions on my hot dog that are raw.
What am I, Stanley Yelnats over here, just eating onions raw? No. You had to do that to survive. I get that. But no, I'm not just eating raw onions. Get the hell out of here with that. Text line also bringing up, did you guys see the end of the Miami game last night? The ACC must be stopped. They're obviously protecting their Golden Goose. Oh, yeah. I was up watching that one.
Yeah, we watched that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable finish. And yes, that was targeting. I think I said before the show started, that was absolutely targeting. I don't know what the referees were thinking.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into all of it. I know a couple of weeks ago, I think when we started Football Sunday, I was like, hey, because of the way that the timing of the show works out, we'll go NFL the first hour, college football the second. I don't think there's any logical way I can just jump into NFL to start this show after the Saturday we just had. So, yeah, we're getting into all of it because that was one of the best Saturdays of college football I can remember in some time. I mean, upsets obviously are awesome when they happen. We saw last week Kentucky take down Ole Miss. But I was saying to my buddy Tanner, who I'm doing a podcast with, I told him, I was like, we have not seen like a big upset yet. We have not seen those big upsets. Yeah, I guess Kentucky Ole Miss is kind of big, but I don't know. There was something that was just lacking that juice of that game and that upset. And we got it yesterday. We got it in droves, I feel like.
I mean, I don't think you just feel. You are correct, sir. I believe it was the first time since like 04 or 05 where 6 out of the top 11 teams all went down. And that's including the number 1 team in Alabama yesterday. That just, wow.
Well, it was 5 of the top 11. It could have been 6 if Cal would have held up their end of the bargain.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
I know.
I think I jumped and
Damn
was
it,
just
Cal.
so excited for Cal to get the win, and then, oh, nope, that's not how it ended.
Well, hey, Yahoo Sports was excited too. They had an article up as of 2 hours ago that said that Cal won that game. They finally deleted it, but yeah, trust me, they wanted it to happen just as much as they're just trying to like gaslight us. Like, oh no, Cal won. See, we have an article still up.
So they went to bed and put the auto publish on when Cal was up by like 20 something.
Oh, probably. I'm guessing someone on the East Coast. It was like
what a d-bag.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm right out on that. That you, Joe, you just got me fired up this morning. God, that is
Yahoo's journalistic integrity. That's what sets you over, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's not even journalistic integrity. It's laziness. Oh, I don't need to do my job since it's a Saturday night. Like, dude, stay up till 2:30. I don't care where you live. That's what you got to do.
All right, let's get into it. We had a wild Saturday of college football. What this means for next week in a certain game next Saturday, and just recap all of it. We'll do that probably the first 2 segments. We'll do a Who Do You Love to finish up hour number 1, so that way we can get our NFL picks in. And then we'll just keep it going into the second hour, maybe do some more NFL stuff. But I mean, again, with the college football Saturday we had, I wouldn't be surprised if we just went all college football today because it was amazing. But let's start with the madness. 5 of the top 11 teams in the country fall. We also had chaos in Corvallis. Just an absolute banger of college football Saturday. We get to that next here. Joe Fisher, Jordan Schultz, Football Sunday, right here on 1080 The Fan.
A Fan.
We should have seen it coming, Jordan. It all started on Friday night. Syracuse knocking down UNLV, the undefeated running Rebs, which was a great game on Friday night. I ended up turning it on after the Duck game finished up and catching the last little part of that.
Could you believe people were already saying they could compete in the CFP? Like, it's what, week 4, week 5 in college football, and they're like, oh, UNLV, oh, sneaky good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think as far as like group of 5. Like right now, Boise State's probably looking like the team, but in due time, we'll find out. On that.
Janty, what, 13 carries in the first half alone and 3 touchdowns? They didn't even need to play him in the second half against Utah State.
I am praying
Good God.
that he just keeps running roughshod on the rest of their schedule and puts up crazy yards every single game, because while I know he got taken out at halftime against the Vikings, I still think it would be the Portland State Vikings. I think it would be hilarious that his lowest rushing total of the season would be against the Portland State Vikings. If you look at his game log,
Yeah.
like that'd be so great. Gets through all 12 games and it was like, oh, wow, what was his lowest running total? It was against the Portland State Vikings. What the hell?
Barney Ball, baby.
Just locking him down.
He's still there, right?
They took him out at halftime because he was scared, all right?
Yeah, those small walk-on players for football teams definitely always scare Ashton Chant.
Hey, blow the horn, okay? And I think Bill Barnum is still there. I have no reason why they would be looking for someone else. But the first upset of the day, it happens at Kyle Field in College Station. Texas A&M just absolutely beating the brakes off Missouri. And Connor Weigman, who is going through a personality crisis, he ends up leading his Texas A&M Aggies to just a dominant victory over Missouri, 41-10. So that is your first upset of the day. Missouri, by the way, also earlier in the season, they had a tough little contest against, and it was actually 2 weeks ago because I think they had the bye week last week. But they had a tough 2 overtime game against Vanderbilt, so they avoided a loss just 2 weeks ago, and then they end up getting their first loss of the season, Texas A&M. So Vanderbilt, I mean, they took them to the brink, and that's foreshadowing right there, because this Vanderbilt team, people thought, oh, maybe they're better than we anticipate. But Missouri was the first one to go down in college football yesterday. Then I believe, as far as order of operations go, as far as upsets and the timing of everything, I believe the next upset was Vanderbilt over Alabama. I think that was how the timeline went yesterday. Was Vandy taking down Alabama 40-35?
Maybe Tennessee finished up before Alabama and Arkansas, but
think
I'm not
it was
sure.
after.
Yeah, it was like right around the same time. Yeah.
Yes, it was maybe like an hour or something like after the Vanderbilt Alabama game, but I'm pretty sure that is how that went down. But Vanderbilt getting their first win against a number 1 ranked opponent in school history. I believe they were also 0-60 against top 5 teams in their school's history. And
they've never beaten Alabama, or very rarely beaten Alabama.
The last time they did beat Alabama, Kalen DeBoer was 10 years old.
There you go. He still has a job this morning, by the way, because I started to see some of the message boards already on Twitter last night, or X or whatever, and oh my God. Well, what was the one that I think was my favorite? Like, I don't want to hear a press conference post-game. I don't want to hear an apology. I want to see somebody fired. Like, what does that do for your program, you idiot?
We'll see how they respond, because I believe the next, I think it's next week, they play Tennessee. I could be wrong on that, but no, they don't play Tennessee next.
South Carolina, then the Cox, and then Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha. So there's a Gamecocks buffer in between the 2 weeks there.
9 a.m. Oh gosh, those early morning kickoffs for SEC teams here on the West Coast. Like, we could bitch about that, but we don't. We just get up and watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, noon for them?
Yeah.
I believe they're not, I don't think Alabama's Central Time, so.
No, I can't stay up until midnight watching a game.
By the way, it has been announced, it was already kind of known, and we'll get into this game later, but the Oregon-Ohio State game will be at 4:30 next Saturday.
And College Game Day. Going to be on the way.
We'll get into it.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. We had Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and Alabama had some chances late in that game. I mean, at the end of halftime, it was 23-14. They come out of halftime right away and they score 23-21. Vanderbilt was able to then score again in the third quarter, going up 30-21. And then Alabama answered back. Ryan Williams with a sick touchdown grab where it looked like he was going to go out of bounds at some point, whether that was running the route or after he caught the ball. But no, he just absolutely tight-roped the entire sideline. Again, just showing why all of us were complete losers at the age of 17, and we could have been an absolute star receiver at Alabama, right?
Yeah, 17 years old. Yeah,
he's doing it. We could have done it, right?
He looks like he's 25 out there. His body just is already doing things that you just dream of doing when you're like in the backyard as a kid, man.
Just unreal. So Alabama, and I want to say, so before Alabama got that touchdown to go down 30-28, Vanderbilt converted a 4th-and-1 play where they just took a deep shot. Like, all you need is 1 yard. F it. We're going deep. And they scored on a 36-yard touchdown pass on 4th-and-1.
Oh, over the top. Yeah,
that
was
just
beautiful.
set that place off. That's how they got that 30-21 lead. Alabama scores 30-28. Vandy kicks a field goal, so then they're up 33-28. And this is kind of where you're feeling like, oh no, like Vanderbilt, like you're letting Alabama back in this game. You're giving them a chance. Then they go and sack Jalen Milroe, force the fumble on the next drive, get the ball back, and then they score to go up 40-28. And then you're like, okay, this definitely has potential.
Yeah.
This has potential to happen. And sure enough, Vanderbilt, they give up one more touchdown, but then they just run the ball, run the clock out. They're able to kneel out the clock and end up sealing off the win against Alabama. Like, just shocking. I mean, Vanderbilt beating Alabama, that is something that, again, I don't feel like, I mean, if Caleb Warrior was 10 the last time that happened, like, how many years ago was that? Like, I don't know if
He's in his 50s, so yeah, probably.
That's something I don't think
80s.
we've ever witnessed at our young age. Vanderbilt beating Alabama. And that is the upset that I was looking for. Like, after last week, I was like, we're still waiting for one of these. Like, one of these earth-shaking upsets. And that was it yesterday.
Well, a really cool way for it to go down, too, because the SEC is, the up in the front trenches, like run the ball really hard type of conference. And Vanderbilt did not allow Alabama to run the ball. It was relentless pursuit to all of their ball carriers yesterday, and they just contained every time that Alabama was trying to get outside the tackles. It just didn't seem like they were able to. I think they were held to like under 90 yards rushing or something like that by Vanderbilt, which is just crazy to me. Jalen Milroe still had a really good game. He's still in the Heisman conversation. I'm not sure it's really his fault that they lost yesterday, but wow. I mean, credit. I think you had to have a perfect game if you're Vanderbilt. It's just kind of one of those like opportunity meeting fate, so to speak, and you just had the day of days. And your coach, what a ballsy call on 4th-and-1. Nobody does that to throw over the top. I'm trying to remember the last time in a very pivotal game or in any just throwaway game where 4th-and-1, you just all of a sudden decide to try to deke your opponent and go over the top and go for 6. That, like, great teams don't do that. That takes balls.
Well, it definitely looked like, if you go back and watch that play, Diego Favia, I believe is the quarterback's name for Vanderbilt, goes through his progressions, and then I think he's like, I'm going for this guy. Like, I definitely...
So that was on Pavia, yeah.
I don't think that was like intentional as far as like that's my first read is to try and hit this guy over the top. And he did, and they scored, and it was an absolute baller play. And 1984 was the last time Vanderbilt beat Alabama. So this is definitely something that I, at the again, the old age of 32, have never witnessed in my lifetime, is Vanderbilt beating Alabama. Unreal.
Yeah. Pick 6, too, by Vandy. I mean, that was Jalen Milroe's only interception, but those are kind of usually the plays. It's either like a special teams touchdown or an interception for 6 points that you usually see in huge upsets like this. And, of course, Vandy literally played as perfect of a game as you could ask for, I think.
The next upset that happened, and Jordan, I have to ask if we have the audio set up.
We've got it, baby.
Not the referee call.
Yeah.
The other one.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, fire it off.
The hell?
That's pig suey, baby. That's a pig
Oh.
call for your ass.
Yeah, it is. I think I like yours better. Guy's voice cracked in the middle of his anyways. It's like, clear your throat and then do the pig call, you idiot.
That clip is it's a clip of like a I don't know if it was like a news segment or something, and I don't know if it was in Arkansas or what state it was at.
Was this a competition?
A pig calling contest,
Stop it.
yes.
Stop it.
There's I watched the full thing last night. 4.5 minutes of people just getting up on stage and just doing the calls.
Hey, you know, I won the gold medal in pig calling, pig suey. Want to go out on a date Friday night? Like, what the hell are we living in?
I think I just need the isolated piggy.
Yeah, pig,
Piggy,
come here, piggy.
Come here, piggy. Because Arkansas, boy, those pigs, they were there in droves. They win 19-14 against Tennessee. Just another shocking upset. I mean, Arkansas is better than Vanderbilt, I would say. We do not get that matchup this year, so we will time will tell. But they almost beat Texas A&M last week. They had a great game against Oklahoma State earlier in the year, where that went back and forth. That went into overtime. And then they take on Tennessee, and they just lock them down, holding one of the best offenses in the country, Tennessee, to just 14 points. That was the most shocking part. Is if you've seen Tennessee this year at all, they've been putting up points.
Yeah, I am
one of the best
however you
offenses.
say his name.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher it. Amaleva.
Amaleva, thank you. Yeah.
Again, that probably was wrong, but I mean, holding them to 158 yards. The last play of the game, too, just inexcusable not for him to be able to just throw something up. He got rushed out to the right and then just ended up getting pushed out of bounds. And it's just like, dude, you got to give yourselves at least a chance.
Well,
here.
I think he's only a freshman. So that's like, you're not going to see Bo Nix or maybe even Dylan Gabriel make that play, but you're going to see a young kid make that play. That's just what happens. Like Marcus Mariota, his first year starting for Oregon, would have made that play probably. Just no experience yet.
It was 3-0 at halftime. So just classic SEC matchup. Just Tennessee punt downs in the first half. So doing absolutely nothing. In the second half, they did score right away twice. They were up 14-3 in this game at one point.
Yeah, so Dylan Sampson is he not in the Heisman conversation, but dang, that kid's good.
So at 14-3, you think that, okay, Tennessee's going to start rolling here soon. And then Arkansas strikes back. They score, make it 14-10. And then this is the rest of the game for Tennessee after they score those two touchdowns in the second half. Punt, downs. Unreal. Love it. Just absolutely love it.
I guess the winning isn't the only option. You can lose the game and you can play to lose the game, I guess, because the punting in the NFL, people don't realize, or in the NFL and college football, at least in the NFL, it happens, I think, 40% of the time, which you think of like baseball as a failure sport. You don't think of the NFL as a failure sport, but literally drive after drive after drive. Just disappointed to see Tennessee just not even get to attempt a shot. Good Lord.
So you have right there, that's all SEC action. Number 9, Missouri falling. You have number 1, Alabama falling, and number 4, Tennessee falling, all getting upset. So that covers the SEC slate from yesterday of absolute chaos. Let's get into the rest of it, because we had 2 games late on Saturday night that one, we're familiar with this team as far as them being disappointing, and they get their first Big Ten disappointment. And then the other one, an absolute crazy way to end the night in the West Coast action of games in the ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, finishing up on the West Coast, on the Pacific Coast on Saturday night. I love geography and college football. It does not matter. We get to that next here, Football Sunday on 1080 The Fan. But first, Schultze with a SportsCenter update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, a big upset day in college football. Top-ranked Alabama falling to Vanderbilt 40-35, the final. Not able to come back in the final minutes. Ohio State did get the win over Iowa 35-7, but Arkansas over Tennessee 19-14. Also, Georgia did beat Auburn 31-13, but definitely some movement going to be happening in the top 10. Minnesota over number 11 USC 24-17. And Iowa State gets by Baylor as well, 43-21. Big score for Boise State over Utah State, 62-30. Ashton Janty, 13 carries, 186 yards in the first half alone. Your Oregon State Beavers playing because the Ducks did not yesterday, obviously getting the win over Michigan State Friday night. But Oregon State getting the 2-overtime win over Colorado State. Anthony Hankerson running it in to give the Beavers the win in the second overtime. And on to the NFL right now. It looks like just a couple of minutes ago, the New York Jets added a touchdown to their total, making it 20-17 against the Minnesota Vikings. 6 minutes to go in that NFL London game. And the Seattle Seahawks in action later this afternoon. They're going to be hosting the New York Giants. You've got coverage starting right here on The Fan right after Football Sunday at 11 a.m. Seattle a 7-point favorite at home. Kickoff at 1:25 on CBS. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now...
I saw a fantastic tweet that it was like, imagine being the guy that decided to go apple picking with his girlfriend yesterday because they only saw one top 25 matchup on the schedule.
So true. Like, light day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
all
why
right. I'll go to the pumpkin patch.
that's why I tried to schedule some stuff for the morning, but I was back in my chair by 3:00 in the afternoon. So I caught most of the good stuff. I think there was probably one that I missed. But
I hope the apples were worth it, my friend. I hope they were good apples. What else happened? A couple more upsets that we had. And this was one that earlier in the week, it was stanky. It smelled funny. And that was USC going to Minnesota. I think leading up to this, it's like, all right, USC going to Minnesota, first true Big Ten road game for them. Because I believe they started with Wisconsin, but it was at home. Excuse me, they did go to Michigan Ann Arbor. I apologize there. Lost that one. And then they go to Minnesota, and after what happened to Minnesota last week and the absolute devastation they had on the onside kick that was called back because of the non-existent offsides, you had a feeling that it was like, all right, PJ Fleck is going to have some sort of alliteration, some sort of, motivation for this team to row the boat against USC. And boy, did they. And of course, USC loses to Minnesota 24-17. Like, of course that happens. This is Lincoln Riley to a T, who is now 22-10 as the head coach of USC in his tenure so far. Do you want to guess what Clay Helton's record was through 32 games?
22-10.
23-9.
23-9.
One game better.
And people were calling for Clay Helton's job pretty often during his tenure at USC.
But I will say, Minnesota, they damn near almost gave it up at the end there. USC was driving, and Minnesota was making stops, but then they got a penalty, Jordan. They got a penalty, and it was a penalty that I have never heard before in my life.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense for simulating brandishing a weapon. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Simulating brandishing a weapon.
Fleck was not happy either. I mean, who would be? But just, it's, I don't know. Seeing the veins pop out of PJ Fleck's neck are extra entertaining.
Well, that is the new celebration. That it used to be the seatbelt celebration, right? I got him strapped. That's what they were was the celebration for a little bit that DBs were doing. Is like I got my opponent, the receiver strapped, right?
Yeah.
Now what they're doing is they're pulling up their shirt to act like I'm strapped.
Yeah, that's probably a little too far.
So
I would agree that is not. It's not as egregious as Randy Moss shooting the moon back in the day. No, I'd say that's more egregious than Randy Moss shooting.
Wasn't there a former NFL player that his celebration was? I feel like it was a tight end. He would throw the football up in the air and then shoot it out of the sky.
Oh, like skeet?
Yeah. I could have sworn. Maybe the Vancouver Vortex line can help me on there.
Yeah, help us out with that.
Because I'm pretty sure there was a tight end that did that. He'd throw the football up and pretend to shoot it with a shotgun. Not nearly as bad as the South Carolina player yesterday, just unloading a clip on Jackson Dart after getting a sack. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't think so.
That was definitely simulating brandishing a weapon. He gets a sack on Jackson Dart, and as he gets up, just
okay, let's not
unloads, just goes full AK AR-15 on him as he's still on the ground, standing over him, just.
All right, no, let's not go like Cops and Robbers or Cowboys and Indians or whatever game we used to play when we were
he
like
went Grand Theft
10,
Auto.
12. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, whatever it is. Let's not act like we're doing
damn
that to
video
each other.
games. So Minnesota, despite the simulating brandishing a weapon call, which, by the way, at the end of the Oregon State-Colorado State game, the final play of the game, when Oregon State prevented the touchdown pass, the DB knocked the ball away, he's standing over the Colorado State player, doing a couple celebrations. He does the I'm strapped celebration as well. Did not get the penalty. And that was about an hour before this USC-Minnesota game happened. So once I saw the Minnesota penalty happen, I was like, oh, they're calling that. I was like, Oregon State. Imagine if Oregon State, they make that stop to end the game in overtime, and then the dude celebrates and does the simulating brandishing a weapon, 15-yard penalty. The game continues on for Colorado State, Oregon State. I mean, those refs were lucky to make it out of light of Corvallis anyways last night. But boy, that would have set over the Beaver fan base even more if they got a 15-yard penalty when they should have won the game because a kid simulates brandishing a weapon. I love the vernacular for that penalty call.
It is about the whitest thing that you could say. Yeah, brandishing a weapon. Yeah.
Well, penalties crack me up. Like my favorite penalty is unnecessary roughness. Like who says roughness? The word. That roughness over there. Unnecessary.
Yeah, that roughness.
Sir,
is too
your
much.
roughness is just unnecessary. Okay, I wonder if roughness is even a word. It has to be,
it's a
or if
word.
that was a word that we made up in football and then later became a word and was implemented in Webster's.
Just doesn't hit the ear right. Roughness.
But of course, USC loses, And now Lincoln Riley is saying things like we're 2 plays away from being 5-0.
Stop, Lincoln.
Pulling that whole thing again. Getting all butthurt at the press conference. So that's one of the things that makes me most happy in this world is seeing USC disappointed and losing a game like that. That is just absolutely fantastic.
Can I maybe, I don't want to own ourselves here, but like Lincoln Riley was Dylan Gabriel's coach at Oklahoma for like a season or two, right?
No, I think
No?
I think
You think he left right before?
He was gone, and because he was coaching Caleb Williams, and then Lincoln Riley left to USC. Caleb Williams left with him because Dylan Gabriel was there 2 seasons at Oklahoma. And I think he was there for the first 2
because he was at South Florida before that or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think he came right after. I was just like, God, I hope we're not clowning on ourselves like getting like a Lincoln Riley product at quarterback here.
No.
Okay, good.
We're getting a Brent Venables product at quarterback. But Dylan Gabriel was not with Lincoln Riley. I'm almost positive on that.
Well, that's
I'm
a
like
good thing.
I'm like a dentist, 99.9% sure.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend yes.
So that was the other top 11 upset is USC, fraud alert once again. But then it gets capped off with an almost upset last night. Miami.
You skipped over one.
Oh, I skipped over an
You
upset?
skipped over a big local upset.
Big
we didn't-
local upset.
We didn't talk about Washington, Michigan, bro.
Oh, dear God.
We did not talk about Washington, Michigan.
That's
yet.
one of the top
Huskies.
10 upsets.
Yeah,
Correct.
over the Michigan Wolverines up
That's
in
right.
Seattle yesterday. That was a nutso game. I believe it was Michigan favored by half a point, Joe. Or sorry, Washington favored by half a point. And we went into it, at least Buck and I on Friday night, we're kind of asking the question, what does Vegas know that we don't? And I do believe that Vegas had an inside inside.
They watched Michigan's offense this year is what they did.
Well, no. They had an inside line on Jack Tuttle being available. It sounded like Sharon Moore threw him in, in the second quarter after Orji just could not throw the ball again.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like they don't have a quarterback on their offense. Okay, well, then they're going to be able to be beaten every single time.
Fine, I'll do it.
But Jack Tuttle came in, and I do believe that was kind of the wrench in the plans of anybody betting in a game, and it kind of just threw everything in the air. And I don't think Vegas even knew, with that kind of extra piece being added, who was going to win. It could have gone either way still.
I think I forgot about this one, too, because I don't really want to give any Washington credit, that's for sure.
I mean, Will Rogers looked really good yesterday.
But they did indeed win.
Giles Jackson and Denzel Boston were great. I mean, like their running game isn't the same as it was last year, but oh my goodness, they still have really good receivers, and Giles obviously left over from last season. So.
I think this was one of the games that I could not get on the quad screen at one point.
Oh, that sucks.
Because YouTube TV, well, it's great having the quad screen. You can't like just choose any 4 games. They have like pre-made quad screens like with certain games. It probably has to do with, I don't know, broadcasting. I don't know what the hell it is, but that was one of them I did not watch as much. I was keeping an eye on from afar. But yeah, Washington, they were favored going into this game.
Yeah, just by half a point though.
And they end up, getting the win. Which there was a few teams that were floating around in this top 15, kind of top 15 area in the 10 to 15 range. LSU is another one. They didn't play this week, but Michigan, USC, LSU, like frauds. Like they were not nearly as good as their ranking was giving them.
Yeah. Well, Michigan yesterday got owned by, I would say Washington's defense isn't even one of the best in the country, but like 2 turnovers late in the game by their savior quarterback in Jack Tuttle. One was a pick, and the other one, I mean, the ball just got punched out, but he wasn't protecting it. And they literally had opportunities. It was still a tie game, I think, when that first turnover happened. It was a fumble by Tuttle. Yeah, that pretty much set the table for Washington to keep the momentum going, and Michigan's offense cannot move the ball. So there you go. Yeah, overrated.
All right. Again, there's just so much that happened. It's almost hard to fit into 2 hours here. But what we'll do is, because we are 12 minutes away from NFL kickoff, we'll take a break. We'll have a smoke. We'll do our Who Do You Love. We'll do our picks for the week. We'll recap what happened last week. It was a great week for some, not a great week for someone else, maybe in this room right now. And then we'll reset and finish up the college football action in the second hour. Sound good? Sound like a plan?
I mean, there's a lot of football to get to. We're not going to get to it all, and I'm just accepting that.
Hour 2, though, I think that we will get to Oregon State. We'll get to that Cal-Miami game, and we'll set up the action for next week because, yeah, we got a big matchup in the state of Oregon next week. So we go to Who Do You Love? Let's make some last-minute picks in NFL before we kick off at 10 a.m. right here, Football Sunday, 10 a.m. The Fan.
Auto accident? Let Leif's Auto Collision Centers handle your claim from A to Z. We pick up your vehicle, negotiate your claim.
Sunday on 1080 The Fan.
All right, take a look at last week's action. I got too cute. All right, I got too cute. I did hit the Jets Broncos under 39.5 because that was a god awful, sloppy, rainy mess.
Yeah, helped with my parlay. I took that as well. Appreciate it.
Packers -2.5 did not hit, and Jordan, your Vikings +2.5
They
hit.
wiped Jordan Love and the Packers off the field.
Well, yes, but they did come back at the end there, the Packers, and only lost by 2.
I agree with you.
So you did cover, but man, they did their best to let the Packers have a chance at the end of the game.
That's how the NFL's set up, though. They literally want teams by 2 touchdowns to have a shot in the last 5 minutes of the game to keep it people viewing the game.
The fix was in. The refs,
it's not a fix. I'm just saying
Roger Goodell got on the ref's headset and say, "Hey guys."
No, it's just the way the game's set up. Vikings still kicked ass.
I got too cute. Tried to go with a deep cut on Roschon Johnson over 31.5 rushing yards. Absolutely did not happen because I guess DeAndre Swift decided he wanted to be a good running back again. Rashad, perfect 3-0 week.
Damn.
Texans, Jags, under 44.5, which almost did not happen because the Jags tried to do a little lateral at the end of the game to keep it alive and damn near gave up a safety, almost gave up a defensive touchdown at the end of the game. So that game finished 24-20. Rashad is lucky that final play went how it did because he was seriously just yards away from that being a loss and them hitting the over. But he gets it. He also went with the Bears covering -3 against the Rams. That was a weird line all week, and it ended up coming into fruition. And then he took the 49ers -10 over the Patriots, which they absolutely rolled the Patriots in that game. Jordan, your Vikings +2.5 hit, as we mentioned. Commanders, Cardinals, over. You took the under 48.5, actually, in that one. And the Commanders damn near hit the over by themselves.
Yeah, didn't really predict Jaden Daniels having that great of a day, but he's hit 80% completion rate on his passes so far, the highest through 4 games in NFL history by a rookie. So yeah,
Daden Daniels with a huge game. You see what I did there?
Yeah,
the
Janiel Dones.
Yeah, there you go.
Talk to Janiel Dones.
And the Barkley anytime touchdown did not hit.
No, it did not.
So after week 4, we all sit at 5-4. Now, I'll have to ask Rashad. He is not feeling well, so hopefully he's able to give me some picks that his brain is all foggy, that aren't really well thought out, that aren't good, and he has an 0-3 week, and we're able to gain some ground and separate ourselves here. But my first game that I am going with, dear God, pray for me, but I'm going with the Jags -3.5.
Oh, wow.
I was able to get it at 3.5 on the DK app. It has now been bet up to 4 in some places because Anthony Richardson isn't playing. Jonathan Taylor is not playing. The Jags are 0-4. They're absolutely desperate for a win. It's at home. They cannot lose this game. And the Colts are not nearly as good as their record indicates. Yes, they are 2-2. They got the win against the Steelers last week. So they're riding a high, but this is a letdown spot for them. For the love of God, Jacksonville, please win this game.
Ugh, that is a risky one.
-3.5. Oh, it is risky. And, I mean, they played better last week against the Texans, but they just couldn't pull it off. But Jags -3.5.
All right, I'm looking at a pretty high total. Bills, Texans. Last I checked, it was at 47. Now I think it's being bet up to 47.5 on some books. I'm going over 47.5 points for the Texans Bills. The Bills scored a lot this year, 30 points plus in 3 of their 4 games so far. They can't defend the run, and Houston's got a pretty good running threat, so there's going to be a lot of offense from both sides. C.J. Stroud, obviously, really great young quarterback, and Josh Allen, when he's on, he could run the ball as well. So I think over 47.5 for the Texans Bills. That one not in Buffalo, by the way, in Houston, so the weather should be good.
I'm going with a god-awful game today, and that is the Dolphins and the Patriots, both putrid offenses that are a affront to the NFL and football and sports community. Total is 36.5. By the way, the Dolphins-Titans, that over hit very end on Monday night, which... because it was trending towards under for a good chunk of that game, and then Tony Pollard was able to score at the end. But Dolphins, Patriots, the total 36.5. I'm going the under. These are 2 of the worst offenses in the NFL. Tyler Huntley could not do anything last week. The Patriots, they might end up having to switch over to Drake May. They can't get anything from Brissett. We saw their offensive ineptitude against the 49ers last week, and we've seen it a lot this season. I don't know if they've scored over 20 points this year. I need to double check that. They have scored 20 points only once. They have scored 16, 23, and 13, the Patriots offense. One of the worst in the league. 32nd in passing. They can run the ball, but Ramondre Stevenson keeps on wanting to fumble it. It's god-awful. Under 36.5 Dolphins Patriots.
I feel like this one that I'm taking is a bit of a trap by Vegas. They must know something that I don't. But Baltimore over Cincinnati, 2.5-point favorites on the road for that one. But I think Baltimore is going to cover that 2.5-point spread because Baltimore's been trending in the right direction. 2 wins in their last 2 games, of course, opening the season. Lost by a toe of Isaiah Likely, and then only lost by 3 to the Raiders after that. Ravens have been pretty consistent offensively and defensively. And I love Lambjack, 2-time MVP. I think he's better than Joe Burrow right now, Joe Burrow, he's talking about efficiency. He struggled with that. So definitely think the Ravens can cover the 2.5-point spread, even though it's on the road.
Ravens covering 2.5-point spread for Jordan. I am actually going to stay in that game as well, Jordan, but I am going to go with the total. I'm going to go with the Bengals Ravens over.
All right.
The total on that one of 48.5. Bengals offense, they have put up some points this year. In the last 2 games alone, they have eclipsed the 30-point mark, scoring 33 against the Commanders in that loss on Monday night, scoring 34 against the Panthers. 3 weeks ago, they put up 25 against the Chiefs. So the offense is trending in the right direction, and then we saw what the Ravens can do on offense last week. They have a very good offense as well, especially that rushing attack with not just Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but Justice Hill is a nice change of pace back for them as well. So I'm going to go with the over of 48.5 Bengals Ravens.
I'll stick with a line instead of like a pick 'em for a player or an anytime touchdown or anything like that. Saquon burned me last week. I'm still a little pissed about that. But I do think that Seattle and New York today are going to go under 42.5. Seattle, even in their wins, has only scored like 20, 26 points. I think the most that they've scored all season is the 26 points, or maybe the 29 in the loss to the Detroit Lions last week. So they just haven't really eclipsed 30 ever this season.
Yep, 26, 23, 24, 29.
Yeah, there you go. And then New York, obviously, being led by Daniel Jones, have no confidence in that offense. Malik Neighbors looks good, but yeah, they just need somebody better throwing him the ball. That game, New York at Seattle at 1:25 this afternoon, under 42.5.
Under 42.5. I am intrigued to see what happens in that one because you said 42.5?
Yes, sir.
Daniel Jones was not terrible against the Cowboys.
You're right.
Anything that was thrown over 25 yards, though, he was. The dude cannot throw downfield. But they were able to convert a lot of third downs against the Cowboys. The offense did only put up 15 points, but it was not nearly as terrible as I thought it was going to be. So I'm intrigued to see how the Giants respond against the Seahawks, but I love the Seahawks just straight up in that game.
Malik Neighbors is out, by the way. Looking
That's
at the
true.
injury report. So.
And he got, that was a Thursday night game, that Cowboys-Giants game, where he got the concussion. So, the fact that he's not playing, that's rough that he went the 9-10 days through concussion protocol and still couldn't play. So.
Yeah, it looks like Devin Singletary's doubtful as well, so they're going to be going into their running back depth chart as well.
Well, Seahawks might just cover straight up then, the -7, but we shall see. That game kicks off after us right here on 1080 The Fan. We'll kick off at 1:25. The pregame starts at 11 o'clock. But let's roll into hour number 2. You can watch Red Zone, you can watch football, but you can use your eyes to do that and use your ears to keep listening to us right here. Football Sunday, hour number 2, 1080 The Fan, coming up next.
Orlando.
A recap of the sports week, a preview of today's games, and next week's big stories.
You think Shaq got rich playing in Orlando? Hardly. He made his fortune moving to LA. You know how much he makes now?
As much as he made playing in college?
What? No.
Now, here are Rashad Taylor and Joe Fisher.
What happened out there?
You know, it was a team effort, and I guess it took every player working together to lose this one.
Thanks, Doug. And so...
Hey, want to do an interview with me?
No.
With Sports Sunday on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Bob, in all my years of calling games, I don't think I've ever been this excited.
You're excited? Feel these nipples.
Hour number 2. Football Sunday right here on 1080 The Fan. 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, YouTube, and Twitch for the kids. Red Zone is on the TV. 1080 The Fan is hopefully on your dials or on the Odyssey app. And my nips are hard as well. This is, we made it to October. It is prime sports season. Best month on the calendar. I mean, the only thing that we need left, Jordan, to make this the best month is just Blazers basketball to start, right?
Not really looking forward to that, but preseason opener is on Friday. Shaden Sharp already out for 4 to 6 weeks. I left that out of my sports update because there's so much football, but the Blazers season ending possibly again before it began. Now, we don't want them to get wins. We want them to be tanking, right? Like, yeah, they need the number 1 overall pick so they can get Cooper Flagg, but yeah, we need to see Shaden Sharp on the freaking court. And after hearing some great reports of offseason development from him and then a couple other reports of Scoot Henderson not having the best offseason, I'm shocked. But once again, that's the guy that the franchise gave up on Damian Lillard, the best player in franchise history for. But hey, preseason opener this Friday. There you go.
Listen, we'll get back into college football here in a second, but I do want to share the tweet from Blazers France. The French Blazers Twitter account for the French fan base there. And it translates, this tweet was from, I believe it was from yesterday afternoon. And it translated to, thank you for following this 24-25 season with us. Now, let's move on to the lottery.
That's fantastic.
Hey, I love it. No brevity on that. Just go straight for it, okay? Just tell people, like, listen, yes, we're excited for the season to be back, NBA basketball to be back, but as soon as we can get this done and get to the lottery, the better. All right? I think it'll be better for everybody involved. And
I wish they could say it publicly. I wish any team that's going for it could say it publicly.
Well, yeah, Blazers France, they can go for it, but
no, I mean the organization itself.
Oh, I wish this was straight from the Blazers Twitter account as well. Like, all right, guys, bear with us for the next few months. Let's just get to the lottery for the love of God.
But we even heard GM Joe Cronin kind of lean that way, at least in his going into the offseason comments last year, said like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're probably not going to be good for a while. We are looking to the future. Not his exact words, but essentially what he said in a nutshell. And then literally right after him, Coach Chauncey Billups being like, well, I think this young team can compete for the playoffs. It's just like, God!
I think people need to be more like Jacob Poeltl for the Toronto Raptors. I believe that's who it was in the preseason, the media day press conference that he had, where he was basically like, yeah, I don't think anybody thinks that we're going to be competing for a championship this year. So, however we can just develop our young guys.
Nice answer.
He literally just came out and said, he's like, yeah, I don't think that anybody sees us as a threat here. But
and he's not stating, I don't think the NBA can even fine him for that. He's literally stating facts. He's like, I'm just reading what people are writing. So.
All right, back to college football here.
No, let's keep bitching about the Blazers. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, let's get back to football, please.
We'll have 8 months to do that. So the night was capped off with an almost upset. It was almost our 6th top 11 team to go down last night, and we were oh so close. Cal Miami. It was the College game day. I mean, I haven't seen Cal Stadium filled up like that ever. It seems like.
It was nuts. I've been there, and it's been mostly empty every time I've been there.
So the fact that they were able to fill that stadium up, I know there was a good chunk of Miami fans, but still, that stadium was filled to the brim. And Cal, they just come out all guns a-blazing. I mean, how many yards after catch did that offensive have? Because it seemed like Jaden Ott had like at least 100 by himself. They jump out to 35-10 lead. in that game. It was definitely a point where I'm like, Miami, they ain't coming back in this. Well, the final score, Miami 39-38, with probably a little help from the referees.
Yeah.
A lot of help from the referees, because one of the big controversial plays at the end there was a targeting call that was not called. They went and reviewed it, actually. The quarterback for Cal, he goes on a run, Fernando Mendoza, and just gets absolutely ear-holed over the middle as he's running. And
helmet-to-helmet contact, mind you.
Yes, and he goes out of the game. They then say the play is getting reviewed for potential targeting. I mean, it checked multiple boxes for targeting. Launching his body, hitting him with the 6-inch radius at the top of the crown of the helmet, and helmet-to-helmet. Like, it was, and that would have probably been it for Miami, because that was on a third down play. That would have given Cal an automatic first down. They probably wouldn't have been able to run out the clock, not kneel it, but probably just run a couple plays to kill some more clock. But the ball gets back to Miami, and sure enough, Cal's defense, who gave up 575 yards last night, they gave up a total of 92 on that final drive, including leaving Xavier Restrepo just wide open for a huge chunk play that was like 60, 70 yards. Like, just
Oh, yeah.
how he gets wide open.
On a screen pass. No. It was a screen pass, brother.
That one, that was over the middle. It was off to the left.
Okay.
Yeah, he dropped it in over the defense. It was...
And then it was just like 40, 50 yards free. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It was, again, it was devastating to see. There was definitely a point where I think it was when Cam Ward threw the pick six. He was booting out right, scrambling to the right, and then he decides to say, you know what? Watch this. I'm going to throw this ball across the field and complete this pass. Well, he did complete it right into a Cal defender's arms. They ended up housing it. That's when they go up 28-10. And then Miami punts. Cal scores again. They go up 35-10. So it's 35-10 at the 8:06 mark in the third quarter. 25 points, Miami's down. This is their next 4 drives. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. Also, if you go back and watch the final touchdown that they score to win the game, Miami has 2 offensive linemen. I think the play was from the 5-yard line. Yeah, they were at Cal's 5. They had 2 offensive linemen at the goal line by the time that Cam Ward lets that ball go. Not just 1 illegal man downfield, 2 illegal men downfield. It was clear as day. So Miami, with the benefit of the refs at the end of the game, just deciding to check out. I mean, hey, it was a long day, all right? Maybe they were East Coasters, and it was 2:30 in the morning for them too. But Miami narrowly escapes Cal. Cal's offense goes cold the rest of the game and lets Miami get back into it. Just an absolutely devastating loss for Cal. Miami escapes for the second week in a row, and we almost had 6 top 11 teams in the country all lose yesterday.
I was really...
And that would have been one of the best. Now, Cal did cover, which I loved that all this week. I think it was like 10.5 at some points, and I love Cal covering. But, man, if you had just Cal money line at any point, prayers, brother.
You were crying like Katie Olave, right, at the end of that game yesterday. That was pretty sad to see. It's like, well, then you stop them on any of the 3 drives that you just let them score on.
Hey,
I'm sorry, I don't feel for you at that point.
But
yes,
that dude, he had like 80 tackles last night.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he gave it his all, and they still, in the last 3 drives, allowed Miami to just do whatever they wanted. And what are you going to do when I think the last play when they did hit that 50-yard bomb or 77-yard bomb down the field or whatever? I don't think that they called the same defense that they had throughout the game previously. Was like, all of a sudden they went to zone. Like, they were man-to-man most of the game, but that zone defense call allowed Miami. Like, Cam Ward just saw the space, and like you said, yeah, Restrepo, or I can't pronounce his name correctly. Restrepo, thank you. Need to remember that. Restrepo, because he's good. Yeah, he was literally just wide open. There was nobody, and then I don't think anybody was able to catch him for like 30 yards.
Yeah, that play, again, that was a huge chunk play for them that got them, I mean, they started that drive at the Cal 8-yard line at the end of the game there.
Looked sunk, looked done.
I mean, they looked done at multiple points of the game, especially, again, when Cam Ward threw that pick six, I was like, oh, my God, you cannot do that. Cam Ward is having the most, like, Cam Ward season in a sense that he just has dumb mistakes. I mean, like last week against Virginia Tech, he had like 3 or 4 turnovers and still ended up just pulling a rabbit out of his hat at the end of the game and winning that. So Miami, they remain undefeated. Cal, oh God, that would have been so great for Josh Wilcox and Justin Wilcox, not the former 1080 The Fan. Wait, hold on. Am I getting the Wilcox mixed up here? Justin is the coach of Cal.
Justin Wilcox is the Cal coach.
Yeah, Josh is the former 1080 The Fan on-air personality, brother of Justin Wilcox.
Well, and he kind of thought going into that game that Justin Wilcox had Mario Cristobal earmarked a bit, right? They faced each other before when Mario was with Oregon in the Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever. So I do think that people didn't have Cal even, with a breath of a chance in this game. But, I was pretty excited going in, and yeah, they almost did it, right?
Well, it's funny. My girlfriend noticed at the end of the game when Mario and Wilcox shook hands. She's like, "Oh boy, the head coaches, they did not." And she's like, "That was a really quick handshake." They didn't. I'm like, something tells me that Justin Wilcox does not like Mario Cristobal at all. I was like, my guess is that they've had conversations over the years. From when obviously Mario was in the Pac-12, they were in the Pac-12 together as head coaches. And also, I'm sure Justin Wilcox probably wasn't a fan of how he handled his departure at Oregon, which, regardless of him not being a Oregon coach at all ever in his career, Justin Wilcox, he still has ties to that school and fan base.
He took a call from Rob Mullins after that happened, so it affected. I think Mario leaving for Oregon did affect his life. He had to answer questions from the Cal media. He had to, him and his family had to deal with that crap for a month or so.
Thanks for that, douche.
Yeah. Hey, Mario, F you. No, honestly, I think I'd feel that same way too. It's like you handled this with zero class. You now brought me into this dramatic fray that you started. So yeah, F you.
So Cal, prayers to you, buddy. I mean, that was just rough way to lose that game. You give up a 25-point lead in the third quarter, and Miami escapes again, and still undefeated, 6-0. Very intrigued to see how this top 25 shakes out here, which should be coming out before the end of the hour. But I am very intrigued to see how it shapes up because, boy, oh boy, do we have quite the matchup here in Eugene coming up that could be, and it's looking like will be a top 5 matchup this Saturday at Autzen. We'll get into that next here. Football Sunday, 1080 The Fan.
Portland Perks.
Head to Portland Perks for an amazing deal at Wildlife.
This Saturday in Eugene, College Game Day. They will be on campus. Ohio State, they will be at Autzen Stadium for one of the biggest matchups in Oregon Ducks history. Ohio State at Oregon. Man, first let's start with Oregon going into this game. Interesting game against Michigan State where they ended up pulling away late in the game. Ohio State, their game against Iowa, interesting start. It was only 7-0 at halftime. They pull away in that one. Very intriguing to see which quarterback comes out and plays the best, because I feel like that is where this game will be determined, is quarterback play. Because Dillon Gabriel, bud, you got to start figuring out some things in the red zone. I gave him a pass against UCLA, that pick six. Tez Johnson slipped. I think as he was throwing that, it was one of those like too little too late. I let go of this ball. And, now Tez is on the ground and it's literally going right to UCLA player. But 2 red zone picks against a team like Michigan State, just inexcusable. And that's a trend I want to end immediately. On the Ohio State side of things, they have playmakers all over that offense. I just wonder how good of a quarterback Will Howard is when he starts playing better competition, and especially against this Ducks defense, who I said earlier this year that they are going to keep them in a lot of games this year. And just barely, they almost they gave up a touchdown late in the game against Michigan State, but we almost had 2 straight weeks of the Oregon defense not give up an offensive touchdown. They have just been nails this entire season so far. And quite frankly, I just feel like this is going to come down to quarterback play. Jordan James, that rushing attack is starting to come on. You would maybe like a little bit more explosive plays. You saw a couple of them on against Michigan State in the run game, but he ended up going for 162 rushing yards, I think he finished with.
166, yeah.
66,
Jordan James,
yeah. Absolutely great performance by him. But Will Howard, he needs to, and the thing is he benefits from just having dudes all around him. You have a 2-headed monster at running back in Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. You've got a dual-headed monster at wide receiver as well with Emeka Egbuka and the freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith.
I think Egbuka had like 3 touchdowns yesterday.
He did. So I am just intrigued to see how Will Howard does against this Oregon defense, who has been absolutely locked down so far. The question is how does the defense do against those skill players? Because if you're able to fluster Will Howard and get to him and get sacks, get him out of the pocket, have him feeling pressure, that's going to be that'll help. But what are these receivers going to do against the DBs? Are they going to be able to get open, get separation? What's the line of scrimmage battle going to be like as far as this offensive line for Ohio State versus Oregon's defensive line? I'm very intrigued to see how that goes. But with all that being said, I cannot wait for Saturday. This is going to be one of the easily the biggest game I've ever gone to at Autzen. And I just can't wait. This is what everybody has been waiting for since the schedule was released last year. This is what everybody's been waiting for a few years now, after this game had to get postponed or rescheduled because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
We obviously had Oregon go to Ohio State a few years ago and get the win there. But then this game has been pushed back, and now we're finally getting it, and we are just 6 days away from Oregon, Ohio State at Autzen. 4:30 kickoff. It's going to be on NBC. I need to definitely make sure I pace myself throughout the day, because it is going to be a party. It's going to be one of the best tailgate environments. Just can't wait. Absolutely can't wait.
I am very nervous about this weekend. Excited.
Oh,
obviously,
I am too.
This is going to be
Excited,
one of the
but
biggest games, in Oregon history. But Dillon Gabriel, not only is he coming off probably one of the worst performances, like interception-wise, of his career, but now they're going into one of Oregon's biggest games ever, and probably Dan Lanning's biggest game ever as Oregon head coach to this point. Dillon Gabriel's supposed to be like the guy with experience, right? We heard he is not he is not going to be fooled by any defense coming into this season, that there is nothing that a defense can throw at him that he hasn't seen. That's what we heard about this 5-year veteran coming in. He's literally about to break Kellen Moore's all-time touchdown passing record.
I think it was Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, excuse
Well, maybe Kellen Moore
I
has
think
the
Kellen
touchdown.
Moore's second. Yeah, so he's about to break Kellen's, or he's about to get to that point and then get to Case Keenum. He's like 8 behind him. So Dillon Gabriel has the experience to know what he's doing. Yet against Michigan State, who has a very stout run defense, which thankfully Oregon ran over last weekend on Friday, but I was surprised to see Dillon struggling so much to make decisions, because basically those 2 interceptions were late decisions by him, which were also, kind of the same thing that he was doing earlier in the season when he was getting sacked, waiting too long to throw the ball, waiting too long to make a decision. And guess what? Ohio State is the top-ranked defense in the country, Joe. I'm stoked to see Oregon's offense and what they do, and Oregon's defense is going to give Ohio State, going to give them a battle, especially after what we saw against Michigan State. But I am so scared of Dillon Gabriel's talent and what he is actually going to do against this really good team. They have not played anybody like this all season.
Well, this is where I wonder, it's, if you can keep the ball out of Ohio State's hands and win that time of possession battle comfortably, that's, for a lack of better comparisons, but I mean, you look at the Vanderbilt game yesterday, that's how they're able to hold Alabama in check, is we're going to control the time of possession by a lot. I mean, we saw how they beat Ohio State a few years ago, is we're going to run the ball. We're going to hold on to the ball. We're going to keep the ball. We're not going to give this ball up.
Did you see what the time of possession was versus Michigan State? Almost even.
Almost even?
For Oregon v. Michigan State on Friday, it was literally a minute difference. And some of that was like late in the fourth quarter, Michigan State just kind of had the ball and couldn't score. But it was that way like going into halftime too, Joe. And that's one thing that I really think Oregon with the running game should be able to pace it, should be able to hold on to the ball longer. But Oregon's offense is not playing like not like at full strength. Like, of course they can score, but they're not doing everything that the offense can do. And that really involves controlling the game. And to win against one of the best teams in the country, you can't not do that. That's not an option to fail at that.
Well, I feel like that is a winning formula for Oregon at this point, is don't put too much pressure on Dillon Gabriel, run the ball, and lean on your defense. I mean, the defense has had some moments this year where they've had to be out on the field a lot, and they have answered the call seemingly the entire year. Just been absolutely super impressed with how they've played so far. So try and keep them off the field as much as possible. But when they are on the field, trust that they're going to be able to lock down these receivers who seem to be able to get open against anybody. Keep the running back in this offensive line in check on Ohio State, which they have a great offensive line as well. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I'm nervous as well. I mean, right now, Ohio State is the favorite. I don't know by how many points. I haven't looked just yet. I mean, I can imagine they're probably, 3.5, 4.5 point favorites going to this? Yeah, they're 3.5.
Yeah.
But I would just say that the quarterback play, whoever is able to make the least amount of mistakes at the quarterback position, that's going to be the difference in this game. Because, again, Will Howard, he's a great quarterback, but he's not a world beater. He is not a dynamic player like a Milroe or a Cam Ward. I mean, he's not going to be running all over the place. His stats are they're pretty comparable to Gabriel's this year. I mean, he has just over 1,200 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Gabriel, I think, has got 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, just over 1,100 yards passing. As far as him rushing the ball goes, again, I just don't think that he is much of a threat with his legs. And, as far as like Gabriel too, it's like, yeah, he can run, but that's not where he's going to burn you. It's going to be his accuracy, and hopefully that he just has a game that he gets up for. And it's almost like last year with the Red River rivalry, where Oklahoma was able to rise to the occasion to beat Texas. And hopefully that's what we get, is basically Dillon Gabriel rising to the occasion. He's been great this year, but these last 2 weeks with those interceptions and those mistakes in the red zone, we got to stop. That has to end. We have to get it together. we have to figure out how to limit those mistakes, and that's what is going to be the key to the game, I believe, is quarterback play and who makes the least amount of mistakes and plays most efficiently.
You wonder if Will Stein's gonna like put Dylan Gabriel out in the open space running a little bit more, because we've already seen him running way more than Bo Nix did last year. But I'm kind of scared that's because of the height difference. Bo Nix is what, 6'3", 6'4"?
Well, and Gabriel's what, like 195, 200 pounds? Like, I can't imagine that he is like, he's a smaller guy. Like, you can get him absolutely crushed out there. And
Yeah.
so that would be a concern there as far as, trying to give him a lot of work. And Gabriel actually has over 1,400 passing yards this year. Excuse me. Yeah, he's 6 foot, 200 pounds, compared to Will Howard, 6'3", 235. I'm just, yeah.
Can I? One of my really good friends that used to be on the equipment staff for Oregon's football team back in the day, he just texted me, said, "Imagine paying $1 million+ for a 5th-year quarterback, and saying Oregon's game plan should be not to put too much pressure on Dylan Gabriel." And I hear you saying that because of the performance that he just had, but like I think that's kind of going to my point. It's like that is a joke, at least the thought process of trying not to put too much pressure on this guy that they gave the most money to bring on their team. Go look at the NCAA football rating that College 25 that the game EA Sports gave him at the beginning of the season.
Like a 93.
Yeah, 92, 93. He was literally the best statistical quarterback in all the country coming in, and we thought, well, talent-wise, that means he is also the best quarterback coming into this season. And it has been proven absolutely wrong. So I guess it's just frustrating now that we do know. I think you're right. It is a joke, though. And now to this point, we know Oregon has to, lean on their defense. But really, if it's a win, it's because of Evan Stewart and Tez Johnson and Jordan James and the offensive line and Dylan Gabriel in the defense. It's not specifically because of Dylan Gabriel. And I think that's what's scaring Duck fans is I'm not sure Dylan Gabriel singularly is the player that can lead you to a win like Bo Nix was.
Well, and I don't want to overreact from one game, right? Like this was and I'm not even going to say it was a bad game by Dylan Gabriel. I mean, they were able to rack up a ton of yards. They were again, while they are red zone turnovers, they're in the red zone. That should have been a 45-17 game because, keep in mind, Michigan State fumbled at the 1-yard line early in the game too. So, I mean, really, they should have an extra touchdown there too.
True.
So it should have been a 44-17 type of game, final score. But that's the thing is that hopefully this is just a flash in the pan as far as bad performance goes for Dylan Gabriel. I mean, if you look at his numbers, it was his worst game of the year so far. And again, I don't want to overreact to it, but when you see those 2 red zone interceptions in that game, you're just like, buddy, what are we doing? We cannot. Thank God this is happening against Michigan State because this cannot happen next week against Ohio State. All right. Let's get to the game that was happening in the state of Oregon yesterday, because, boy, what a barn burner it was down in Corvallis. Get to that next here, but first, Schulte, Sports Center Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, let's take a look at the NFL slate in progress right now. The Bears and Panthers tied at 7 apiece with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Chuba Hubbard running for a touchdown for Carolina. Caleb Williams also passing for a touchdown for Chicago. The Ravens leading the Bengals with a minute to go in the first quarter. 7-0 in Cincinnati. Over in New England, the Patriots lead Miami 7-3 in Foxborough right now. Ramondre Stevenson rushing in for the touchdown for New England. The Commanders and Browns still scoreless with 4 minutes to go in the first. Colts lead the Jags at the end of the first quarter, 7-0. Joe Flacco going 7 of 7 and throwing a touchdown on the Colts' first drive. 3 minutes to go in the first in Houston. The Texans lead the Bills 7-3. C.J. Stroud already 4-4 for 42 yards. And already completed today, the NFL London game. The Vikings over the Jets 23-17. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has new shirts from the Fan. Todd Taylor and Joe Fisher on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Oregon State with a future Pac-12 matchup last night.
Yeah.
Against Colorado State. My God, they did their best to try and lose that game, though. They were up 21-10 in the fourth quarter, and were able to let Colorado State crawl back into this and take a late lead, 24-21. Oregon State was then able to get their way downfield and tie it up with a 44-yard field goal, which, as we all know, college kickers, the fact that he made it to tie that game with 20 seconds left.
I think we're finally seeing a little bit of an uptick in skill in college kickers.
I was literally sitting here last week talking about how Ole Miss lost that game because they gave that kicker a chance at a 48-yarder. And I was like, not happy about that. And then Oregon State trots out their kicker for the 44-yarder. I'm like, dear God, kid.
I mean, not every
best of luck to you.
Not
and he sank it. It just got in, but he made it.
Not every one of these kids is Camden Lewis, thank God. Like I really think that if they
is
miss
that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, that is a good thing because they have a leg beyond 40 yards. Sure, they miss it, but like I do see like the length there, and I'm just like PTSD as an Oregon fan. Thank God that they have two kickers. It wasn't Zappington that hit that 50-yarder. It was like Andrew Boyle or some like transfer senior for Oregon on Friday night against Michigan State. So like they actually
that was like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. So they actually have kickers that can hit these lengths. And I've been watching other teams, not necessarily always make them, but they have kids with the leg. So, 48-yarder, at least the coach has that option. It's a layer that college offenses have that, you know, the NFL, it's like a regular thing, but it's like few and far between. It's like college, it's like, well, maybe the best teams have that. Like, it's like you have it if you are well recruited, right? Like you got one of the top 20 kickers in the country, essentially.
So Oregon State, they were doing their damnedest to try and lose this game. The ESPN play-by-play, like if you look at it on the website.
Oh, they messed up, dude.
Dear God, what is happening here?
Thank you. It's like a Colorado State like final touchdown to win the game, but it was Oregon State that scored that. Yet they put the Hankerson touchdown under Colorado State's like list of downs. It's very weird.
It says that the Oregon State scored 14-10 at the end of the first half, and then the score miraculously goes up to 30-10 at the end of the first half.
They just don't care about us on the West Coast, do they, dude?
And then it rolls through 30-10 for another. And then Oregon State lost 9 points somehow.
Thank you. Yeah, what the hell's that about?
That's a first. I've never seen that before.
Well, and if you notice, Hankerson scored the game-winning touchdown before Giovanni McCoy ran for 4 yards. Like that doesn't even make sense. Like according to their play-by-play.
Dear God.
Yeah.
But I mean, Oregon State, I was impressed with Giovanni McCoy and his running ability yesterday. He ended up running for 91 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is something I feel like we have not seen with Oregon State much this year, is his ability to get out of the pocket and run the ball as much. I mean, the week before against Purdue, yes, 10 carries, 66 yards, but hell, even against Oregon a little bit, but I think that was more so him having to run for his life and do something there. But yesterday, God, he had one play where he ran for a touchdown and just lowered the shoulder against the safety of Colorado State and just bowled him over. And I was like, dude, I love that. Whenever you see a quarterback just lowering the shoulder and just bowling over a dude, I mean, you got to love that as a teammate of Giovanni McCoy. But I was very impressed with his grit and how he came out in that game, especially running the ball. Passing, still a lot to be desired in the passing game for Oregon State. He only has 2 passing touchdowns this year. So again, if Oregon State can get somewhat of a passing offense, then they can start to improve, get better. They barely escaped Colorado State. They should have ran away with that game towards the end. They were up 21-10 in the fourth quarter and weren't able to do it, let them back in it. But still, gritty win for Oregon State. I will say, though, absolutely embarrassing for you rushing the field after winning that game.
The same day that Vandy beats Alabama.
The same day when we have
the field.
4 or 5 games that are justified for rushing the field. Like, I'll even give Washington fan credit. Yeah, you should rush the field.
Are
You're beating a top 25 opponent, a top 15 opponent in Michigan at home, and you are unranked. That checks all the boxes for being able to rush the field. Oregon State fans should be absolutely embarrassed that you are rushing the field for an overtime victory against Colorado State, where you were favored. You should have won that game in regulation, and you barely escaped a win.
Are those the same fans that S-talked the Ducks on Twitter or X leading up to the Civil War and then didn't even fill the damn stadium? Like, really, guys? I don't know. There's really nothing I can say to Beavers fans because at least the ones that rush the field are too stupid to understand what I'd be trying to say anyways. So,
Wow.
come on,
Taking a shot at their intelligence.
Well, why else would they be running onto the field after such a low?
Hey, that's a science
lowbrow
school,
win.
all right? I'll give Oregon State. They probably do have smarter students than Oregon. Oregon is much more of the liberal arts, business, journalism side. I mean, good law school at Oregon. But for the sciencey type folks, I mean,
Yeah.
Oregon State, the engineering folks, I give them the nod.
I bet you the engineers weren't the ones running onto the field. Bet you they were not.
They were probably in study hall.
No, they were probably back at their places drinking.
And studying.
Ready to host the party. Oh, yeah. Ready for that 6 a.m. test on Monday. Totally, Joe.
But Oregon State, they escape with the win, rather. Who do they play next week? Taking a look. Oh, they go to Nevada next week. They'll go to Reno, take on the Wolfpack, and then they'll get UNLV in a couple weeks. Then they'll get Cal in 3 weeks at Cal. Very intrigued to see how that matchup goes.
That'll be a good matchup. Cal has the advantage at this point, I would say, if McCoy can't throw the ball. Although he can, it's just the Beavers offense. You look his sophomore season at Idaho, he had 27 touchdowns compared to 7 interceptions. Like, 71-yard long pass that season, then a 75-yard long pass in 2023. He can air it out. Giovanni McCoy just has not been able to show his arm yet for Oregon State.
UNLV will take on Utah State next week, so they should win that. That will set up a 5-1 UNLV Rebs versus a hopefully 5-1 Oregon State team. Cal, their next couple of weeks, looking at their ACC schedule, which is still ridiculous to say out loud, they'll take on Pitt, and Pitt is looking good this year. They got to go to Pittsburgh. That is a long trip. That's a 12:30 kickoff.
Oh, it's
our
not
time.
a long trip. Can we stop with the flights being that long?
California to Pittsburgh is a long.
It's like a 4.5-hour flight.
It's literally from one coast to another.
I mean,
Now, granted, Pittsburgh is more inland than like Philly or something like that, but still, that you're going from the Pacific time zone to the Eastern time zone. That's a travel. All right.
But flights are comfy now, especially for like big old rich expensive schools.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I don't know. I mean, Cal Berkeley, I don't know how they're taking care of their flight plans for their football team. I mean, hopefully they would be taking care of them, but it is Cal we're talking about.
I mean, they got that new ACC money. I don't know. You're probably right, Joe. I'm just wishfully thinking.
Cal's got Pitt and then NC State over the next couple of weeks before they play Oregon State. I would love to see Cal pull the upset against Pitt. NC State is absolute shell of themselves compared to where they were to start the year. So intrigued to see what happens the next couple of weeks for all those teams as Oregon State continues to roll on through their schedule. All right, one more segment. I know what I want to do. We are seeing something for the first time in our lifetime. First time in doing math off the top of my head. That's a scary thing. For the first time in 80 years, we are seeing something happen in college football. We get to that next year. Football Sunday, 1080 The Fan. Jordan, we are witnessing something in the college football universe that we haven't seen since 1945. Do you know what that is?
Like 100-0 beatdown. Did that happen this weekend?
No.
Okay.
It involves two teams, two very important teams to this country.
Oh, I saw this stat, but I'll still let you tease it. I do know what you're talking about. We're talking about some military teams on the football field, correct?
1945. These two institutions, academies, whatever you want to call them, they just came off of a big win. They come back from Europe, they come back from the Pacific, and they're on a high. They feel like they can't be beaten, and that's what happened in 1945. The Army and Navy were 5-0. 1945. I mean, this is fresh off of World War II. Momentum is on their side. They get onto the football field, and they're like, "You can't stop us." That or the teams they were playing felt very grateful for what they had done over the last few years, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna let Army and Navy just win this year. We're gonna let them get some W's because they just defended our country." But 1945, Army and Navy started off the season 5-0. 2024, Army and Navy are 5-0.
Boom.
Which is, I mean, we are getting very, very dangerously close to a undefeated Army-Navy matchup. Well, I shouldn't say dangerously close because it's still like 2 months away. But how awesome would that be if we got Army-Navy undefeated to end the year? And then they go into the match both 12-0 or whatever.
I mean, we're seeing parity in college football, like more and more. It's kind of crazy. And also the losses not really meaning as much. So if a team goes through an undefeated season, like I don't care who you are, that's damn impressive in this state of college football.
Now the one team that could screw this all up, and of course it would be on them to do something stupid like this and ruin this season for both of these teams. Both of these teams have to play Notre Dame.
Ah, the old independent Notre Dame.
And I think if Notre Dame wants to earn some points with football fans across the country, they need to throw this game, both of these games, against Army and Navy. I mean, Notre Dame, I'm sure they feel like they still have a chance at the college football playoff, which I'm sure they do. I mean, they're after that loss to Northern Illinois, they still have a 4-1 record. Very much could make the playoff.
Not really too high on Marcus Freeman, but yes, they could.
Neither am I. But they need to throw this game. They need to purposely lose to Army and Navy. I mean, looking at Army's schedule, the toughest opponent they have remaining outside of Notre Dame, I mean, they play Trent Dilfer's UAB Blazers next week, who just gave up 70 points to Tulane. They'll play East Carolina, Air Force, North Texas. They'll play UTSA. I mean, out of all those teams, I guess North Texas is the best team that they'll play remaining on the schedule. For Navy, they'll play Charlotte, Rice, South Florida. I guess South Florida is pretty decent. But they've kind of fallen off since their game against Alabama a few weeks ago that they took, that they played against them very well. The best team that they'll play is Tulane. But outside of that, I mean, pretty easy schedules besides the Notre Dame games for both Navy and Army. I just pray that Notre Dame loses both those games and we get an undefeated matchup between the Army triple option running Army and Navy.
Just see, I mean, you see in this like NIL world, I'm not sure Army and Navy like have taxpayer dollars that they can like put.
Are they even legally allowed to do
that?
No,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think that like Army and Navy's kind of competing with like a little bit of their legs cut out from under them in this current NIL world, yet still undefeated.
That's a tough sales pitch. Like, hey, we'll pay you to come to Navy, but I would have to be an active service member of that. That's, forget about that part. Yeah, you might have to get deployed at some point, but hey, we'll pay you this much.
But you know that those guys are, I mean, I think all those guys have either gone through some form of like basic training or whatever it is, like when you get to the initial academy, like, yeah, I think that'd be basic training or like a course that you basically for like 5 or 6 weeks, like kind of get like brought into being a soldier and trained how to do that. So yeah, those guys are all tough as nails. Maybe you don't need to pay them.
Army-Navy game Saturday, December 14th. So we're just over 2 months away from it. So they needed to hold up their end of the bargain. Just keep winning, baby. Keep winning football games.
Seriously, I get locked into YouTube sometimes. I'm sure everybody does with like different rabbit holes. But one of the ones I like to do, Business Insider, they have a great channel where they will go and follow people like doing things like at different walks of life. And one of them is like basic training with the Army and the Navy and the Coast Guard. Like, go watch like a 10-20 minute video of what these kids go through in 6 weeks. Like, yeah, I see why they're 5-0. Like, these kids are I don't have the balls to do what they do, even just going to like the BT. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't do well with authoritative figures.
Authority?
Yeah. I'm also looking at the early top 25.
Oh, did that just come out?
I believe the coaches poll for USA Today, because top 25 drops tomorrow. AP, right?
Yeah, the AP always drops on Mondays, I believe.
Okay, gotcha. But the coaches poll.
You're thinking of like the college football playoff numbers. The rankings start like I think after week 8. They drop them like late Sunday.
They do on like I thought they do the college football playoff rankings on like Tuesday. Or something
okay,
like that.
maybe you're right.
Don't they
there.
do like a Tuesday show? I'm pretty sure.
Good old Tuesday. Yeah, that makes sense. Stretch it out as much as possible.
Make it like a broadcast.
Like the NBA lottery. Yeah.
They do. Yeah, it's the whole they build on the suspense. But all right, week 7 college football coaches poll via USA Today. Fraudulent LSU number 10. They will not be number 10 by season's end. I do not believe in them whatsoever. Tennessee 9, Ole Miss 8, Alabama 7, Miami 6. So that means Oregon is a top 5 team according to the coaches poll. The top 5 goes as following according to the coaches poll: Penn State 5, Georgia 4, Oregon 3, Ohio State 2, Texas number 1. So according to the coaches poll, we are getting a top 3 matchup in Eugene this Saturday.
Hell yeah, let's go. That's kind of what I was hoping for because, yeah, you see Tennessee at number 4 losing, top-ranked Alabama losing, Texas off this week, I believe. So, yeah, they move up. Ohio State moves up, and I don't believe – I mean, some people are going to put Georgia still ahead of Oregon, but come on, Georgia's a one-loss team. Oregon isn't. Can we not? Can we not, please?
I agree with you. You know, what the AP decides to do we'll wait and see, but I would not be completely shocked if they ended up doing that. But again, Georgia does have a loss. Oregon does not. They might just, give the nod to the undefeated team. I mean, let's keep in mind, Georgia did also struggle against Kentucky, 13-12. I think they ended up getting that win over Kentucky a few weeks ago. But keep in mind, Oregon struggled against Idaho and Boise State, which as we get further and further from that Boise State game, Oregon fans have to feel good, at least as far as what they did against Ashton Genty, because he seems to just be running over every single team that he plays.
He's
God.
just good. It is what it is.
My God. I mean, what does he finish with, rushing yards-wise? Is he going to finish with at least 2,500 rushing yards?
It's quite possible, sir. Like, yeah, the sky's the limit at this point for him.
He's on pace, right? Like, if we do the math, if we work on the math, he put up 62 points yesterday. Boise State, 186 from Genty. He is at 1,031 yards through 5 games. Unreal. All right, that does it for Football Sunday. We will catch you next week, I believe, at 8 a.m.
Oh, good. We'll be here.
Go Seahawks.
Yay.
Appreciate you guys for that. Appreciate you as always, Jordan.
Love you, brother. Love you all.
And appreciate everybody out there listening. Rashad will hopefully be back next week, and we will be back next week, hopefully not hungover, and hopefully with an Oregon victory to go over as well. For Jordan Schultz and myself, Joe Fisher, everybody have a great Sunday action of NFL football, and we will catch you next week at 8 a.m. Peace.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new